My journey has been, I started in various ways. I was in environment, I was in psychiatry, I was in mental health for children and adults. I was a consultant to the private sector, the public sector. I even worked in very sensitive government positions and then became an academic. The nut of all this was I was very interested in how the leadership across these very different experiences really worked. So I started on what is now one of the world's biggest databases on top teams, on boards, on governance. And my database in terms of what people do and how they behave now spans well over 20,000 organizations across 43 countries. The research has now reached a prominent position, I would say, internationally, that a business person known as Jerry Brown, who's turned out to be a wonderful friend, offered to sponsor research in two areas, funnily enough. One was in how the British government functioned, and secondly, what is the reality of how governance and leadership works in the third sector, particularly in charities, in health, in sports, and in universities, colleges. We have just finished probably one of the biggest projects in this third sector ever in the UK. And not only have we come up with a book on the nature of the independent director, but we also have come up with 4 separate reports on the reality of governance in charities, in health, in sports, and in universities. And interestingly enough, all of these reports have received attention. What perhaps is a little bit distressing to report is that the worst governance emerged in universities, with certainly a challenge that needs to be met and confronted in the immediate future. But all of this would not have been possible without the support of Jerry Brown. Jerry Brown actually turned out to be not only a sponsor, he was also a colleague. He was actively involved in the studies from beginning to end, conducting interviews. Probably he was as good a researcher as ever I have seen. The question of engaging board members in an online world is going to be so paramount and so important. I'm not sure we have particularly understood the significance of this question. First of all, there was a movement to say the online world is distinctly going to enable the board. Now, in terms of the efficiency of the board papers, that is very true. In terms of the reality of the board, is it in touch with the organization, with the markets, with any harassment or bullying that's going on? The answer is not so. So what initial ventures into the online board world have shown is increased efficiency, shorter board meetings, and board directors being more satisfied. What they've also shown is that the board may not be in touch with the plight and nature of the problems of the employees of the organization or even of the management. We need to attend to this for one very simple reason. We have blockchain, we have artificial intelligence, and we're going to have an algorithm that is going to calculate numerous outputs, financial outputs, compensation for insurance claims, and the governance of that is going to be another algorithm. If we don't sort this out, the current post office scandal of the biggest travesty of justice is going to look like a children's tea party, because the board is going to have to identify its role when it is an algorithm that's making calculations. It's not people. When it is an algorithm that is governing that algorithm, and then on top of that sits the board. How are they going to intervene? It really is a most delicate question.